If you think about high rate of fire metalwork, you probably think about weapons like the MG-42 with a rate of 1,500 rounds per minute. But did you know that there were weapons before the Second World War that fired 3,000, 5,000, and even up to 1,000,000 rounds per minute? In this video, we will look at a particular weapon that really surprised everyone and in fact very few people know about. This did not achieve the success it deserved because it came at a bad historical moment and because it was directly an unviable weapon logistically. So we will talk about the Bangder Powderless gun, probably one of the most interesting weapons in history since it was capable of firing 1,000,000 rounds per minute and was developed no more and no less than in 1907. At the beginning of the 20th century, the American Army had made public its interest in acquiring automatic weapons. So it was that in 1908, good old Friedrich decided to present to the Army the machine gun he had been working on for years, the powerful Bangder Powderless gun. Or in English, the Bangder Powderless gun. This unparalleled machine gun instantly caught the attention of the Army, as Friedrich promised that it was capable of firing 1,000,000 rounds per minute. With that rate, it concentrated the firepower of no less than 50,000 men into a single machine gun. The weapon was instantly tested under unusual standards of secrecy, as no details were revealed to the present press about the weapon's action. The weapon was electrically operated and fed from a hopper where ammunition was poured as needed. The ammunition was spherical, 1 centimeter in diameter. They were driven by a powerful electric motor that, through centrifugal force, propelled the ammunition at a speed of 900 meters per second. Since it did not require complicated reloading mechanisms, it had as much cadence as inserted in the tape. In ammunition in the weapon, and since it did not use gunpowder, it had no kind of recoil. The most impressive thing about this was that sustained fire was completely viable, as the barrel of it did not suffer any kind of wear by temperature. Besides that, the projectiles it used were simple metal spheres of 1 centimeter in diameter that were extremely cheap to produce, so this weapon could fire for a minute at a cost of $20. Of the time, something like about 1,100 current dollars, which may seem exaggerated, but for a weapon of such destructive power, it was not bad at all. A journalist from the New York Herald newspaper described his perception of the weapon being tested. The target was a pine board that was placed 70 feet away. When the engine began to hum, the operator turned a small wheel and a steady stream of bullets sprouted from the mouth of the barrel like a jet of water from a hose nozzle. The target seemed to melt before our eyes. When the projectiles hit it in about 10 seconds, the entire center of the plank had disappeared. In this test, the weapon fired 15,000 spherical projectiles at a thick wooden plank, and as the New York Herald reporter described, it practically melted the pine plank. Many other journalists attended the tests. Even the London Daily Telegraph called it a marvel and a masterpiece for war. Vander promised wonders to the Army, for example, that the weapon was going to fire 12-millimeter conical projectiles sharper than any other, giving it an abysmally superior penetration. These were going to be fired from 2 large rifled cannons that would give them a range of more than 3 kilometers away, making it ideal for fighting airships, which were the most formidable enemies for the armies at that time. Such fame given by the media attracted a myriad of investors who wanted to finance Bangder so that he could manufacture a definitive version of the weapon. But Mr. Bangder soon discovered that the plans of these investors were simply to obtain the secret of his invention and take it away, so he did not associate with any Wall Street investor, declaring that if he did not make money with his invention, no one else was going to. Bangder continued collaborating with the ongoing government. Impressed with the weapon, but the years passed and Vander decided to focus on another invention, a clock that would work perpetually without batteries, while he continued to wait for the government to finally decide to start producing his weapon more. In the end, the weapon not being patented since Bangder did not want to collaborate with the investor, and as Bangder's interest declined, the development of it was left halfway. The Army decided to desist from acquiring this machine gun because at that time they were more interested in a machine gun that could be used on the battlefield. And because the weapon's engine was electric, it was unfeasible to be used on the battlefield, in addition to being very bulky and logistically demanding. Due to all these problems, we never saw a final version of it. In fact, there are very few images or photographic evidence of its existence. There are simply descriptions of people who saw it fire. Few people know of the existence of this weapon because Bangder, not having patented it, hid the details of its operation and also the plans of it so that they would not be stolen. And since there was only one prototype, it is unknown what happened to it, making this weapon one of the biggest mysteries of the armament world. After the weapon, the protagonist of this video will be forgotten. It even seems that Bangder continued developing more machine guns without finishing them. For example, Bangder's grandson in 2021 found a strange machine gun in the basement that belonged to Bangder. This one had 15 barrels and was designed in 1922. However, it seems that it was never finished, and its rate of fire is obviously unknown since it cannot be fired. It took decades until the 2000s for us to see a weapon again that could fire at rates similar to the Vanguard Powderless gun. The particular weapon is the Metal Storm, which could fire 1 million rounds per minute, and as we saw in the video we dedicated to this weapon, it suffered the same fate as the protagonist of this video. Extremely high rate of fire weapons seem simply unfeasible no matter the era, not because they are impossible to make, but rather because they have many logistical difficulties and really limited applications. So now you know, soldier. Thank you very much for watching this video and see you in the next one.